Live from New York. It's the show that is on the first day of Never a Doubt Week.
Yeah, Never a Doubt Week.
Never. Do you hear about Never a Doubt Week?
Yeah, I mean,
This
Nick
is,
told me before this show.
and by the way,
too.
you know why it's Never a Doubt Week?
Well, yeah, you have a tattoo. that
No,
says
but
Never a
also
Doubt
because
during the Super Bowl.
you, despite some moments, are coming around.
Yeah.
And I think by the end of the week, Brew's gonna come around as well.
When
I
is your-
think it's on the
I've
board.
been digging all weekend. I was in the film.
Yeah, by
Yes.
Friday, we're gonna be triplets of Never a Doubt.
It's going to be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, have some.
Yeah. What's the question?
If he beats this vaunted Chiefs defense, would you give him your respect?
I already respect him.
Well, not
I already
really.
respect him. People don't want me to give Brock Purdy earned respect, which I have. They want me to give Brock Purdy unearned praise, which I have thus far refused to, and I will continue to refuse to as long as it is unearned. If and when it becomes earned, I'll give it to him. Going into the year, I think we all, maybe I'm wrong, but I think we all agreed that he was outside of the top 20 quarterbacks in football. Maybe you had him right on the fringe, but going into the year, it's not like...
I'll say this to you.
Yeah.
I thought when I picked the Eagles to win the NFC, I definitely thought hard about San Francisco, and then I was like, I don't know if Purdy can get them.
Right, and
Yeah,
so
it just sounds
it
crazy.
is, if people go back and watch some of our shows from last year, it's very interesting now seeing how we discuss Purdy, because it was not as if last year in in his short time in the playoff run that we had a big discrepancy. Right. We all thought that the 49ers quarterbacking could hold them back, and I thought they could make the Super Bowl over Philly despite it, because I had believed in them throughout the year. I don't know what people want. He is better than I thought he was. He's better than I think everyone thought he was. Absolutely. I now think he is, after not thinking he was one of the 20, 25 best quarterbacks in football, when I put pencil to paper the other day, I came out with him at 14th of the active quarterbacks today. That is above average. Now, if people want me to say things like, look at the records, look at the numbers, Brock Purdy's better than Justin Herbert, I won't do it. Much less better than the quarterbacks who we know are great rather than Herbert, which is we think he's very, very good, could be great. Mm-hmm. I just won't. And so I don't know what people want me to do here.
If they win this game, would you move? You think you'd move him up from 14th?
I think I have to see how games are played, because I think if we again go to an alternate universe when 5 years ago we weren't together on the show, but people were debating Jimmy Garoppolo. And going into that NFC title game, people were like, well, if they go to the Super Bowl, will you admit Jimmy Garoppolo's good? And then they win 37-20 and Garoppolo throws 8 passes.
Right.
That didn't prove anything. Here is what, to me, Brew, a win this weekend would do. Because I don't think it will definitively say he's a force multiplier. I don't think it will definitively say he's not a system quarterback. I think it will definitively say he's going to be the Niners quarterback moving forward. And I think that more than just next year, long term.
Okay.
If he wins the Super Bowl with them,
he'll eventually get paid.
Exactly right. Blah, blah. And so that's what I'm comfortable saying.
I do think, Nick, and you're right. Let's see how it plays out. We know he's going to throw the ball a healthy number of times. If he plays well and they win, I do think you'll give him some love, because, as you said, only Tom Brady and Joe Burrow have ever beaten Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. So if Brock Purdy joins that group, that's big right there. Secondly, he will have done something that Tua couldn't do, Josh Allen couldn't do, and Lamar Jackson couldn't do. And Lamar and Tua actually looked bad against this Chiefs defense. And Allen, we disagree, but you thought he didn't look good. I thought he looked good. But bottom line is he couldn't beat him and couldn't come through at the end of the game. And he will become, Brock Purdy, only the third quarterback ever to win the Super Bowl in his first full season as a starter. The other two, Kurt Warner and Tom Brady. Now, people may say, well, you're always throwing him in the names along with these Hall of Famers, but he's actually putting himself, not that he's as good as those guys right now, but he's putting himself in those types of circles. And here's what I like about him, Nick. If I looked up like all the quarterbacks who won Super Bowls, there's about 13 that either aren't Hall of Famers or won't be. Mm-hmm. If you take out Russell Wilson and Matt Stafford, who I guess kind of have an outside chance, but they were stars. Take them out. The other 11, they differ from Purdy in that they didn't put up great individual numbers. Now, he's only in his second year, but they didn't put them up consistently. None of them ever threw for 30 touchdowns. And I get it was a different game back then. I'm talking about Joe Flacco, Joe Theismann, Brad Johnson, people like that. None of them threw for 30 touchdowns. Purdy did this year. And even though the game is different now and guys tend to throw more, he's only threw it 444 times. He threw it less than Lamar Jackson, and he led the league in touchdown percentage. So percentage of his throws that were TDs. So I think he's a combination of a guy that puts up numbers, and if he wins this game, wins, and that's what stars are made of.
Playoff Tua Allen Lamar, 3 total touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Do you think that him putting up numbers against the Chiefs defense will give you a little bit of like, you know what? I've been saying this Chiefs defense is elite the whole year, and Brock Purdy
But so hold on. So again, because I have been accused, and we even have a prop associated with it, of moving the goalposts. And I feel like some of the Purdy supporters have been doing that this postseason. Because those of us that were skeptical of Brock, and despite the overwhelming numbers, what we were told is, what more do you want him to do? And then in this postseason, when he has 2 touchdowns and 1 pick, has not played well in either game for giant stretches of it. In the second game, at least, he was good for a quarter. In the first game, he was good for 1 drive. Folks now say, well, those numbers don't matter, he won. And so there's
a... did have 2
but I think, and I also think, because we talked about, if he has a great game this weekend, I'm not talking about the Super Bowl, but would you be impressed? You're like, no, I've seen that. You said you'd be more impressed if he plays poorly, they're down, right, and then he rallies, which is what he did twice.
Correct, which is why I then said I was more impressed. But I guess my point is, I at least have been consistent on what I want to see. What I think some people who are trying to manifest a player that they think should get more credit than he's getting, but deep down don't think he's great, what they are basically saying is, I want anything to be able to pull from to say that, see, that's why he's special. It's when they're blowing people out and guys are running wide open, he's moving people with his eyes. It's his anticipatory throws. When he's not wowing you with stuff, it's, oh, he doesn't make mistakes. When he loses games through a litany of mistakes, and you can't say that anymore, it's that, oh, he has the gumption to come back from it. And when he digs the hole, like you killed, absolutely killed for a year.
He didn't
Trevor
throw 4
Lawrence for
interceptions
doing
in 1 half.
he also didn't have that level of comeback either. You killed him openly for it. But the question I would have is this, because I'm going to keep bringing up the other Niners quarterback to bring them to a Super Bowl, because we know the Niners. Nicky Bosa thinks they win that game if a hold that wasn't a hold was called a hold. Would that have changed the quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is if they had called a hold on Wasp and the Chiefs lose? No. And I know, Brew, you say Jimmy G never put up these types of numbers. We only saw, and we can show it to you, Jimmy G for a short period of time with Christian McCaffrey. But those look a lot like the Purdy numbers. Does that not concern you at all? That a quarterback that we know is not good, in the month of football, he got Christian McCaffrey, which is the last month of football this team had before Brock Purdy. He put up numbers that are, equivalent or better than Brock Purdy. That doesn't concern you the least bit?
No, because, again, and look, I understand they didn't have McCaffrey, but when they went to the Super Bowl, they had a playoff game where, as you said, he threw 8 times. Another where he threw 19. And even though they didn't have McCaffrey, they had a good running game. They had Mostert, and other guys like so they had a good run game. And also, look, McCaffrey is better at his position right now than Brock Purdy is at his. There's no doubt about that. But McCaffrey didn't change things in Carolina when he was there with Baker. I know they didn't have a great team, but they were 1-6 when McCaffrey was there. Baker was struggling and got benched. So I'm just saying, I think Purdy helps, not that he's making McCaffrey, he was great already when he stayed healthy, but he helps McCaffrey too, and he helps those other guys. He's hitting them in stride so they can run after the catch.
Can I just ask real quick?
And that's just a small sample size.
But what do you make of that sample?
It's a small sample size. Okay, it's only 4 games.
Okay, so you just think it's...
And don't you think, you just look at Jimmy G was not as accurate as Brock Purdy is. I don't think he threw with the anticipation that Brock Purdy does. Jimmy G did some things well. He actually had some comeback wins during his career. But I think the eye test clearly favors Purdy. I think you would agree with that.
No, I agree with that. But my point is, I think we all now agree Jimmy G is bad. And the fact that in the month he had, by the wins, margin of victory, and stats, he was the best quarterback in football, that would give me pause about how good Brock Purdy actually is. That's all. I think it's fair.
I expect Mahomes to have his best game of the playoffs, bro.
Well, look, there's a part of me, and this is not my pick, but there's a part of me that thinks Mahomes is going to kind of do whatever's necessary to get the win. All right, that's kind of what he's done in these playoffs. Hasn't put up huge numbers, but he's made the plays when he's had to. But I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. I don't expect him to have a huge game. One, look at this graphic. He, for whatever reason, he hasn't been at his best in the Super Bowls. You see, all the other rounds, including the regular season, he's terrific. Super Bowl passer rating is very low for him.
Is that because the Bucs Super Bowl tanked it?
Well, that's one of them, but obviously the game against San Francisco, he had 2 interceptions early and came back and won it.
Philly, he had like a 130 passer rating, but he had less than 200 yards passed.
180-some yards,
exactly.
But 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Yeah. So there's that. But also I think if San Francisco is going to have a lot to do with this, their defense. Regular season, their defense was great against the run. Third in the league, third best. In the playoffs, for whatever reason, they have not been able to stop the run. We know they gave up almost 200 rushing yards to Detroit and almost 150 to Green Bay. I think initially Kansas City's strategy will be to run the ball and see if they're successful with Isaiah Pacheco running the ball. If he's successful and they get a stop or two on the first few possessions for San Francisco and then they get a lead, I think it could be similar to – I don't think they'll be as stagnant offensively as they were against Baltimore, but I think it could be similar in that they're running the ball. Mahomes is making, short passes here and there. And so I think Pacheco could have a big game, and Mahomes only may throw for 230 yards or something.
Sounds like you're picking the Chiefs.
No. You'll see in a couple days.
We're all going to end up on the right side of this game. I'm confident of it. So here's the thing. I want to talk about the San Francisco defense and then Mahomes. You guys alluded to it. The Chiefs' defense has been facing kind of escalating difficulty in quarterbacks, and now it's about to plummet. So Tua, into Josh Allen, into Lamar, and now Purdy, who is worse than Josh Allen and Lamar, but I believe better than Tua. I think you believe it, and you both believe that. The Niners dealing with a totally different situation. Jordan Love in his first career playoff game to Jared Goff, now up the rocket ship to Patrick Mahomes. And the Niners defense, to Bruce's point, and we can show it to you, this postseason has been bad. And so especially in comparison to their other playoff runs under Kyle Shanahan, where they were far better from a rush defense standard, a total yardage standard, and of course a points per game standard. And then there is the Patrick Mahomes element. And this is why I expect it. Because the greatest players in sports history, their seasons and their careers very often have storylines. And what better way for the worst season of Patrick Mahomes' career, the worst offense he's ever been a part of, for that season to end with the best Super Bowl he's ever played. Which, to Bruce's point, first Super Bowl against the Niners, struggled for 3 quarters, and then was amazing in the fourth. The Bucs game was getting his ass kicked the entire game, and the Eagles game had, completion percentage and touchdowns and pass rating were great, but less than 200 yards total passing. A start-to-finish masterpiece, and this is where Wildes, I will take it upon myself to once again be the sports media ombudsman and keep everyone honest. Because all year long, what is this week, Wildes?
Well, it's never a doubt week.
It's never a doubt week. But for the rest of the sports media, it was nothing but doubts week. Year, pardon me.
Oh, okay.
And all year long, you know what a common refrain was? If Patrick Mahomes can win a Super Bowl with this team, it'll be the greatest accomplishment of his career.
Right.
If Patrick Mahomes can win a Super Bowl with this team, it will cement him amongst the legends of the game. We heard it all year long from people who didn't want to believe any of it and was using it actually, I'll give Patrick a fake compliment to say why the Chiefs can't do it. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And the Chiefs, by the way, I think 8 or 9 consecutive playoff games have scored on their opening possession. And they have those opening possessions, Brew, they have been throwing the football. They've been leaning on the run, different parts. But that opening script, even in the negative 30-degree game, remember, it was 3 straight passes to show them they could do it.
Okay. Finally, let's check in on the 49ers social media. I don't know if you're on social media, but you should check this out. Posted this clip against all odds and one die. I like to say dice. Even if it's just one.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, granted, this might be a play on words since the Super Bowl's in Las Vegas, but the 49ers have been Super Bowl favorites since December and are favorites in this game. So the against all odds thing struck us as odd.
Well, they're the first team in 7 years to be favored in every single game of the season. All right, they have literally been favored in every single game of the season. And in fact, like, we can show you the teams in NFL history who have been favored the most. And so this Niners team is going to tie the 2021 Chiefs for most games favored in a season. Now, none of those teams, oddly, won the Super Bowl, so something to keep in mind. Also, I hate to burst everyone's bubble here, but there is an underdog in this game, and his name is Patrick Mahomes. So you're going to squint. I'm going to show you some Wildes that's going to blow your mind.
Okay, I'm ready.
Since Purdy took over, Mahomes has been underdog. Mahomes has been an underdog 3 times in the last 3 weeks. Purdy's been an underdog once. Once in his career. It was the game he got knocked out of, by the way, on the road in Philly. Mahomes has been an underdog in 4 of his last 5 playoff games, and it would have been 5 of 6 if not for late line movement in the AFC title game last year against Cincy when they opened as an underdog. So there is an underdog in this game, and the Niners, try as they might, can't play that card because they are as favored as any team over the course of a year in NFL history. They have a quarterback who is invited to the MVP ceremony, yet the discussion around him is there's a guy on TV in New York who's mean to him, so let's all cry about it. And so the Chiefs are the underdogs. The Chiefs are the team with the broken offense. The Chiefs are the team that couldn't go on the road to win. The Chiefs are the team that was definitely going to lose to Baltimore. And the Chiefs are the team that's underdogs to San Francisco.
Everybody wants to be the underdog.
Well, look, they literally are, though.
They're defending champs.
Well, look, if you just go from this season and these playoffs, against all odds does fit the Chiefs more because most people had written them off. They were 500 essentially over the second half of the season. As you said, what they've done in these playoffs, hardly anyone except you thought they could do. All right, so I will give them that.
Not on the show.
I don't know where you were.
I'm in Chiefs Kingdom.
All right. But here's the thing, Nick. The Niners, and I get it, they had the most Pro Bowlers, they had the most All-Pros, all of that stuff, right? And as you said, they've been favored all year. But where it does fit them is they are starting Mr. Irrelevant at quarterback. I mean, that's a big deal. I don't care what he's done since then. He's Mr. Irrelevant. And as I said, only 2 other players, Kurt Warner and Tom Brady, and we're not ready to put him in that class yet. They're the only 2 that have won the Super Bowl in their first years as starters. So is he going to do that too?
But
so it fits Brock Purdy.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't fit the team. Really?
Really?
Hold on. Mr. Irrelevant, it doesn't fit him?
Listen, I'm not trying to spoil later in the show, but about a half hour from now, we are going to have a question. Who had the better season, Patrick Mahomes or Brock Purdy? And I think your answer is Brock Purdy.
That's this season.
Well,
but hold on.
That's what we're talking about.
But this guy's career arc. You just said it. He's surprised you and everybody else with what he's done.
Yes.
There is no way you can look at Brock Purdy and him being in the Super Bowl and say against all odds doesn't fit him. It doesn't fit Bosa
my bad.
and McCaffrey and Debo and all those. As a team, it doesn't fit him. But him? It fits.
All right, so then you're right.
There's never been done.
This is my bad. I was distracted. I didn't know Brock Purdy tweeted this out. I thought the Niners account did.
He runs it.
No, I give you that. I'm just saying.
Oh, it was
don't
the Niners
act
account?
like for
Get
you
out
to
of
say
here.
Brock Purdy doesn't fit against all odds is
Brew,
crazy.
that's not what we're talking about.
That's
It's
what
the
I'm talking
Niners.
about.
Well, because you're
Because I
changing
agree
it.
with you on the team.
The Niners have been
But
massive favorites in both playoff games. They've been favored in every game all year.
All right, hold on. So I'm going to have to turn this on you since you're going so hard against Brock on this.
I'm not going
You
hard
got
against
the
Brock.
best quarterback we've ever seen.
Right.
All right, they're the defending Super Bowl champions. They got the best defense in the league.
Yep. Best coach.
Best coach,
Yes.
you think maybe ever?
Yes.
So
Best tight
they're
end.
against all best
Best
tight
tight
end
end.
ever.
Look at the screen. Who's favored? Okay. What are we talking about?
I'm just saying, don't try to put the Chiefs in the woe.
They have been underdogs, and you have
believes
picked
in us.
against
They're
them.
the defending
You
champions.
picked
I might
against
pick
them.
against them again.
Exactly.
Just wait till
Exactly.
Thursday. Y'all don't know where I'm going.
Part of me thinks we all agreed in that segment. You started rooting for Brock Purdy.
No, when did I do that?
Because you have to say, you had to acknowledge Brock Purdy was so great, he's making the Chiefs an underdog.
No,
Felt like
You
it.
said it's not surprising what he's done. Mr. Irrelevant.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.